So, I've seen a couple statements that you've made about stand-up.
Oh, sure. Like what? I don't even know what statements
Okay.
I made about stand-up.
And I don't know if it is. I don't know if you got it from somewhere else or some of your perspective. But you said you played basketball growing up in high school and through your childhood, I'm assuming. So you made an analogy about stand-up and baseball. Okay?
Yes.
And that was about, I've talked about it a lot even in business, like, hey, you make the Hall of Fame in baseball if you average a 300.
Yes.
Which that means if there's 10 pitches thrown, you hit 3 of them.
Yes.
And so what I know about life is most of us feel like that's massive failure because those 7 hurt really bad.
Right.
Right? So you made the analogy that stand-up's similar.
Yes.
Okay. So speak to this because this is like a business, a growth principle, a success principle. So speak to this.
Yeah. So and I was talking. I think I was talking about comedy in general because obviously I do some stand up, but what I do for my job is write jokes, and there is so much failure in joke writing and in comedy because you are not the arbiter of success completely. You know what I mean? Like I can say, I think this is funny. That's why I wrote it. But if I built my career only on what I think is funny, I mostly think that every joke that I write is funny. That's why I wrote it or submitted it. But not everybody thinks that every joke that I write is funny. Not everybody thinks that every joke anybody writes is funny. And that's what, in any type of writing, in any type of creating, right, you're curating, right? And I mean, like, probably, I'm speaking way outside because like probably in selling houses, you've got 6 that are, that are good that you think would fit with this person based on what you know of them. And in 3 of them, you're wrong. Well, it's like, you only got to sell one house.
Yeah.
And
it's a principle of life.
It is.
It's dating.
Right.
It's friends. It's, I don't know, sometimes family members. It's business. It's playing sports. Especially even in the beginning and the middle part, you're just not going to be that good probably.
Right.
We're not all, I don't know, who's the best comedian?
Oh, wow.
Who is it? Who does...
Well, I think it's so different because there are so many different
types,
kinds. Yeah. There's people who write their own stuff and like tell their own jokes. There are people who write jokes for other people, and so that's, I mean, what I do is a collaboration, right? Because I write a joke.
Is there a writer's room?
Kind of.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like we write our jokes and then my boss says them, and so I don't get to say them.
Do you ever have it happen? We're not talking about an individual boss.
Sure.
But has it ever happened where you wrote the joke and you're like, that was so much funnier when I wrote it?
I've had it happen with myself.
Yeah.
When I write something and or the reverse, where it's like I wrote something and I'm like, it's fine, like it's fine, but it's a placeholder, and then I go read the piece, and when I read it, when I imbue it with that life, it's so much funnier than just on the page. And then there have been the opposite where I'm like, oh, this structure is really fun, and this is the weird thing about being able to switch mediums. It's like when you write something on a page, you're writing it for someone's eyes. When you're writing it for the screen, you're writing it for someone's ears, but you're also writing it for someone else's mouth. And if you write a joke that does not come out easily, it doesn't matter how funny it is because people are going to be, we're humans. It's like, oh, I'm worried about you because you stumbled.
So other than your book here in 2023, what's on your mind?
Oh, I mean, I'm thinking about the writer's strike a lot. And I'm thinking about, I wasn't before, but I had a really interesting conversation a week ago with a guy who works in AI and talking about AI and art and specifically comedy. And it really is all I've been thinking about for like the past week is do I believe that AI is going to be able to do what I do eventually? And I don't think so. And I don't think so in like that idealistic, like, art is how we grow as humans or whatever. Like, I believe that. But the reason that I think that AI is going to be able to do a lot of stuff, and I don't not believe it's going to get better than what it is. I think people who are like, AI is not going to be able to do this. Look at how it's bad now. I'm like, that's silly. Have you ever, like, look at a Nokia cell phone?
That's head in the sand stuff.
You know what I mean? Look at a Nokia cell phone. But the conversation that we were having was, okay, how is AI going to be able to write comedy, for instance, for a late night joke? Okay. And I was having a conversation with this guy, and it's
a deep dive, a true conversation.
It was a real conversation.
Without agenda. Let's really think about this.
Yeah, exactly. And I was saying this to my sister. I was like, we really got into it, and I mean got into it as in delved into the topic, not got into it as in got into a fight.
Let's go deep.
Yeah. And so what he said was, what it will do is it will then, the next step is face reading. Like, it will gauge reaction. It'll say,
it's going to gauge how we're feeling about something.
Yeah, it's like, what makes people laugh, and then it will recreate what makes people laugh, and so it will be able to take the news and write a joke. And I believe that eventually that will be true. Right now it can't, and I have tried to train ChatGPT how to write certain jokes, and it can't. It doesn't know how to do that yet. But will it be able to write a basic level or even a pretty high level joke? Of course it will. Absolutely. Like, my watch knows if I have atrial fibrillation. Like, of course it will be able to write a joke based on a news headline. But the thing about good comedy and even good art is that we are not sure if it's going to work. And AI is going to have all of the experience.
And all of the past context.
All of it. And I think that will be the problem. Because then we get into, we were talking earlier about, like, what's your definition of the objective? It's like, okay, it's a good joke. Does it make the most people laugh? Does it make half the people laugh the hardest? Does it make, you know what I mean? Of course, we'll be able to tailor for certain audiences and whatever. But
there's no improvisation.
And jokes work sometimes. And sometimes they don't. And there is no, like, you're not going to find the perfect ratio, I don't think, of shared understanding. And in order to do that, I think you lose the ability to surprise people. Because you can't learn, I don't think, always what will make people laugh from what they have already laughed at. Because you also need to know what are they experiencing in their daily lives and all of this other stuff. The other thing is, an AI is not going to pitch a joke that it thinks is funny. It's going to pitch a joke that it thinks people will laugh at.
Is that bad?
I think that it is not going to be as good. Because I pitch jokes that I think are funny. And I want them to work. And AI is not going to want anything to work. AI can't want. And the other thing, and this is what was really fascinating, that I asked this guy, I said, if AI says a joke to you and you laugh at it, will it know why?
Don't know.
No, it won't know what part of the joke that you thought was fun. It won't know what resonated with you.